It's time for us to get into our 2018 award season. We're starting with the MTs. It says here it's a sideline view of the GAA season. Tommy Rooney is actually a frustrated sub-editor from the 1970s Irish Times. Who knew? A sideline view of the GAA
sideline
season.
view.
Was there any sub-editors in the 1980s that weren't frustrated?
I think the sub-editor used to be a very glorified. They controlled the copy. They could change around the meaning of whatever it was. They were really important.
Yeah, sometimes power leads to frustration, I guess.
I would say the sub-editors of today are even more frustrated.
I'd say, well, there's not many more. So, we have 11 awards, because, you know, we might come up with a few more along the way.
We may drop a few.
Yeah, that's also a possibility. Most underrated juggernaut soundbite of the summer. Most enjoyable, there will be blood rivalry. Clusterfuck of the summer. I apologise for all the little ears out there. I should have done that first. The honest interviewee award. Unlucky with the draw and didn't deserve to lose like that. Retro press box food award. Is there an award for Tommy Walsh's missus for all the food that she provided you guys over the summer?
I think she certainly at the very least deserves an honourable mention. Marliese has been very good to us all summer.
Yeah,
What's this?
Every once in a while she might provide baked goods.
Really?
Oh,
Every
yeah.
once in a while, yeah. Now, in fairness, we kind of had a little rota. Like, sometimes Tommy would bring something, sometimes I might bring a salad, sometimes somebody else might bring in a salad bowl or something. So we worked it out very well. We're democratic.
So there's loads more, including best atmosphere, and we'll get to all these in a couple of minutes. But the first one is PRO of the year. We've got one each for hurling and football. The hurling one is Mark Dunphy and Clare, but who's the football one?
The football one is Hugh Lynn from Roscommon. Congratulations, Hugh.
He's with us on the line to accept his award. Hugh, how are you?
I'm brilliant. Any day you win something, you have to be happy, haven't you?
Yeah. So explain, Maire Treasa, how come he's won it?
Well, Hugh Lynn won the award very basically, and I have to say the standards aren't that high for to win PRO of the year.
No.
No offence, Hugh, but when I say the standards aren't high, Hugh far surpassed the standards, because all we want as journalists is for PRO to every once in a while answer the phone. Not only would Hugh answer the phone, he would give you information. If he said he had to call you back, he would. And he would give you directions, and he would give you team sheets on time. They never gave any dummy sheets. They just did what was on the tin. And things like Wi-Fi codes, he had them ready. Simple as that. And in fairness, Mark did the same as well in the hurling.
Hugh, congratulations.
Thanks very much.
What? How did you get so good at the stuff Maire Treasa was talking about there?
I'm a consumer of sports news. I know what people want, so I mean, isn't that my job to make sure that everybody else gets the information they want as well?
Well, you see, some PROs feel that they're kind of gatekeepers and nearly treat journalists like we shouldn't be told anything. You know, they don't see themselves as information givers, but information keepers. And that's, I think, a big difference. And the best thing about Hugh, though, as well, is that he always made sure when you got there, did you have a cup of tea? A happy journalist means happy copy.
Well, regardless what it is, if you look after people's tummies, they look after you. But the job was made very easy. I had Paul Staunton, Kevin McStay, Shane Curran. I had 3 very good football managers who absolutely appreciated the demands of the supporters to have as much information as possible.
And the other thing too, actually, sorry Hugh, I didn't want to cut across you there, but the other reason I think is very important to point out as well is that Roscommon summer wasn't that all plain sailing. It was turbulent, and Hugh still managed to do his job, which I'd imagine Hugh was quite difficult at times.
Oh, absolutely, but you're not in it for, we say, if it's going to be good, there has to be an odd bad day. I'm hoping that next year is going to be fantastic, because I've all the bad days behind me.
In fairness, though, that was definitely one of the things that came across, was that there was a sense that you guys did want to help everybody, that you were very open and honest. Like, remember, this is a group of players who allowed cameras in last year, you know, and actually had a great season when the cameras were there following their every move. So the players seem to get that actually this is a way for the supporters to find out more information about them. The manager seemed to understand that from the get-go as well. So it does seem like there's an openness and a transparency about the organisation.
Absolutely, but we say, like, let's be honest, we have absolutely nothing to hide. We want as many people involved as possible. We're a small county. I mean, we say it's just 60-odd thousand of a population. We want to try and ensure that as many Rossies as possible are involved with Roscommon. We want to ensure that everybody knows that everything we're doing is, we say, we're striving to be the best that we can be. And that's basically what we're doing. We're trying to make sure that people see our message. Tomorrow there's going to be, or even today, there's going to be big news later on today. We're launching a big draw, and hopefully people get in behind us and support us on that and win a house in Dublin. But the whole thing is that it's about Roscommon, making sure that Roscommon people and the wider community know what's happening.
Do you have any bigger news, maybe, about Roscommon as well?
I'm sure there will be lots to talk about Roscommon in a few days' time as the process to find a new manager will start. It hasn't started yet, insofar as there's a county board meeting tonight, Monday, because I've nearly started in the morning, so I can't do this live with you. But so we're starting our recruitment process tonight at the county board meeting, and we put in place a committee to select a new manager. So Lacuna J, there'll be a new manager by the end of the month.
What are you going to miss the most about Kevin McStay?
Great question. I'd imagine, personally speaking, I'd miss his openness. I'll miss the chats. I'll miss the professional delivery of things. For example, teams. I used to have the team. I could have the team 8 days before a match, and we famously named our team on a Sunday at 2:00. We say exactly 168 hours before throw in of the following week. So that's the big thing with. I miss Kevin's organisation. Everything was done to a T. Everything was on time every time. So whatever you needed, you got it, and you got it on time. There was no messing. That's the big thing I miss.
Hugh, good stuff. Congratulations, and thanks very much. Keep up the good work.
Thanks a million.
It's Hugh Lynn there, the Roscommon PRO. Dummy teams, I don't know what the point of them is anymore. Surely, like, everybody has kind of thought through the potential that maybe the Dublin team that's named won't be the actual team that starts.
Absolutely, and I think all it does is just frustrate fans. I mean, it's not fair. People have bought a programme. There's been money changing hands. It's supposed to be more transparent there. I understand why sometimes managers wish they didn't have to name teams as early as they did and whatever, and sometimes changes do have to be made, but I don't see any advantage in naming a dummy team.
They should just go full soccer at this point. Name your squad early in the week and then name the team an hour before throw-in, and that's your actual team, and that's how it's actually going to be set up. Yeah.
As opposed to the team that marches around in the parade and then there's a change. So best match atmosphere of the summer. So this is a single game that had the best atmosphere.
But before we get on to that, can I just voice my displeasure at the fact that Leona Twist got overlooked for PRO of the year this year?
She did not get overlooked. She got an honourable mention from me on this.
Oh, she did. Sorry, honourable mention, as well as Mark Dunphy in the hurling. To be honest, I've never dealt with Hugh Lynn before. He seems like an absolute gentleman, but Leona Twist would have got my nomination. That's all I can say on the matter. I think it's a horrible overlooking.
And she's not even a Kerry woman, is she?
It's true, actually. Yeah, it's good.
And that's how good she is. A Kerry man still thinks she's the best.
Yeah, well, Kerry needed to win something this year, so I was hoping that we might have been Hero of the Year.
So best match atmosphere, which is something that Kerry are involved in here.
Yeah, Kerry technically do have a win here. Like, obviously, I had the great opportunity this summer. I travelled the country to lots of games, not all of the games, but the game that kind of took my breath away and that I went home all summer thinking that was the great atmosphere was the day Kerry played Monaghan in Clones. It had everything. We had sunshine, we had a great crowd, we had the amphitheatre experience of Clones, we had a great game that literally came down to the wire. I suppose the only thing wrong with it was we didn't have a result at the end, but what we did have was it was a draw. So you could argue maybe that wasn't the fairy tale ending to what was a brilliant day, but when people talk about magical football matches, that's what we should be talking about, I think. So that's why I went for that one.
Yeah, didn't really lead to anything in the end, though, the magical ending from our point of view.
One of the greatest goals of all time. What are you talking about?
Hopefully it's got a wider legacy where in a few years' time it's like, remember when David Clifford did that amazing thing in Clones? Whereas obviously we're sitting here in 2018, it's kind of tunnel vision at the moment where it's like, we didn't even make an All-Ireland semi-final despite the fact that he scored that was the most dramatic moment in all of the Super 8s, and they didn't even progress with the Super 8s. So,
but it was a great game, though. And a great day.
Yeah, like the game was lost and won.
I was a bit surprised it wasn't a sellout. Like it wasn't full or nearly like absolutely jammed to the rafters, because there was definitely space behind both goals, was there?
There was, yeah. Now there wasn't much space left, but I presume part of the reason for that is that Clones is so far from Kerry, and I know Kerry people do get slagged for not travelling to matches, but when you think about it, if you live in Carrick-Iveen, you're in the car for over an hour just to get to Tralee. So to head up to Clones, that really took huge investment.
Yeah, I do always say that I'm very lucky that I live in Dublin, that I get to go to all the Kerry games.
Yeah, like, loads of
that's the main reason. But I think another reason for that as well, it was non-restricted, as in like whatever ticket you had, you could just go into one of the stands. You didn't have to go behind the goals. There was no tickets for behind the goals, right. So everybody just jammed into the terraces like. So it wasn't as bad as you say.
This one is a bit of inside baseball. Press pack feeders of the championship. Who fed you the best?
Well, this is my self-indulgent award, literally. And the reason I gave this to a county who's already won one minor award, I think this will mean more to them, and that goes to the Limerick Hurlers. And the reason they get it is because, as we all know, people particularly don't like press nights. They don't want to be dealing with us. They've got better things to be doing, but they come in and sometimes you get fed, which is great, especially if it's been a long journey. But Limerick, you know, there's a bar. They went far above the bar. They gave us a menu. We had tablecloths. You had a starter. You had a main course. I think it was a choice between beef and turkey, and you had dessert. And somebody went around and asked, would you like a top-up?
Very
Amazing.
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
beef and turkey is quite the selection, actually. Is that normal?
No.
It's quite, obviously, beef and salmon is the usual.
And where is it? Was it like...
It was in the Castle Troy Hotel.
Oh, nice.
That's where they had the press night, and then you went into the restaurant in the side.
Very good.
And yeah, it was lovely and very much appreciated, because most of the media now are based in Dublin. Had to travel a long distance to get there. It was an evening do as well, which meant you had to leave Dublin really early. And that kind of stuff, it's really appreciated.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not buying us off. I know people say, oh, she'll say that because it was the best meal. But no, really, it makes a huge difference when you're working hard. But it has to be pointed out. Kilkenny have been doing this for years and have been doing it really well, and I don't know how I'd go if Kilkenny had played Limerick in the final, because when you go to Kilkenny for the All-Ireland final, you get to go to Langton's and you get steak and chips, and not only do you get steak and chips, but they ask you how you like your steak.
Ah, nice. I'm literally mouth-watering at the moment.
Yeah.
The steak in Langton's.
If you're going to be the best, you got to learn from the best. That's like absolute down to the minutiae from Limerick right there, to learn from Kilkenny. I also heard the Tyrone breakfast was quite good.
I heard it was. I wasn't there because that was the day after the morning after the hurling, when I was cruelly...
Keane Lynch.
Yeah, where I was cruelly
yes.
sent out to City West amongst jubilant Limerick people. And me
As a
and
Galway woman.
Me and my bitter Galway tears in the corner.
It worked out all right?
Look, in fairness, I won't begrudge them. They had a good time and they treated me very nicely.
Your next award, please.
My next award is the Helping the Damsel in Distress Award. And as a girl, I am physically weaker than most of the press pack who go in there. I do carry a lot of gear because I shoot videos. I carry a big ISDN box, which is how we broadcast. They're heavy. And it's nice to get a little bit of help every once in a while. I'm all for equality, but I also like help when it comes along. And anytime I show up to PEARSE Stadium, I don't know if they hear me coming, if they hear the groans or whatever, but they're running down the stairs, they're picking the stuff up and they're bringing it up and help me set it up. And that makes a huge difference. It actually speeds up my day a lot as well. I can speed maybe 15 minutes as I'm setting things up, and it's just really nice.
This is PEARSE Stadium, Galway.
Yes.
Very good. Did you ever leave an ISDN box on a bus or anything like that?
No.
Never left.
And you haven't lived.
Never left thousands and thousands and thousands of euros worth of equipment on a bus in your first week here. The first time we ever sent you out.
No, who did that?
It was definitely the third time. It was definitely, and like, I can't even remember why I did that. It was pretty stupid.
I have
Nobody
left
gave
my
me help,
tripod
that's
though.
why.
I'm very, very bad at leaving my tripod behind, and it's usually when I'm in the car, and then I realise, and it's a good tripod, then I realise I have to walk back. The place is usually locked up because I'm usually the last person out, trying to find the man with the key to let me back in again to collect the tripod.
All right, and it's there.
Usually, yeah.
Right, fair
It's
play.
a good thing you didn't leave a tripod behind. That would have been a disaster. Like that's definitely the worst piece of equipment you could definitely leave behind. Far more expensive than an ISDN line.
I'm not sure I agree.
The Retro Press Box Food Award.
Yes, the Retro Press Box Food Award goes to, obviously, again, Press Day. The press boxes, I know people when they go to matches, when they watch the games, you know, some stadiums they prefer more than others. You know, for example, in PEARSE Stadium, the Supermax truck might be nearby and you can have your snack box, which is something the fans really look forward to. For us, certain press boxes you look forward to more than others, and we've given this one to Semple Stadium because you get sandwiches, but not only do you get sandwiches, you get slices of perfectly sliced
There's the
Swiss
picture,
roll.
I think. There you go.
Wow.
Always in a line, always a choice between the chocolate
barn
one
brack.
or the sponge one.
From John Duggan.
Yeah, and the brack, you get the brack as well, and plenty of real butter as well.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, that is...
Butter on the brack.
Yeah, there's eating and drinking in it.
That's a heart attack right there. Number 6, unlucky with the draw. Didn't deserve to lose like that award. Maybe they did. I think you might be pandering to our producer here. What's this one?
No, I wouldn't be accused of pandering to any producer. This one goes to Meath Football and Andy McEntee and how they crashed out of the championship against Tyrone, which feels like a lifetime ago now, early in the summer down at Porkathalson. It's very obvious looking at you that while you're very proud of your players and how they performed, you're very angry and you're very emotional. I don't think I'm going too far by saying that right now.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's a fair comment. Look at, where do we go now? Where do we go now? We have to wait until next January before we play another game. That's the killer. I mean, we had the same with Waterford last week, but they have another game next week. They have a chance to put it right. We don't. So we pay the ultimate price.
Total note.
That's really sad. I think it's there's something wrong in the structure when somebody is out that early in the championship. It's not right.
Especially after putting it up to Tyrone.
And don't forget the controversial refereeing decision as well that cost them a potential free, which was very scoreable.
Like that cost me the place in the All-Ireland final.
Yeah.
That could have been Andy McEntee.
Oh, you're such a troll.
Shaking Jim Gavin's hand after losing by 7 points in the All-Ireland final, but instead it was Mickey Hart.
Oh, you're such a troll.
Well, you know, I'm not saying they would have gone to the All-Ireland final, but
They should have beaten Tyrone. There was no, like, that was a shocking refereeing decision. It should have, yeah.
The structure there, I mean, somebody after all that hard work for a championship shouldn't be out that early.
Yeah, they're the crew, especially when you get that close as well. They're the cruel ones.
It's a cruel cut. It really, really was.
He is around for next year, isn't he?
Yeah.
There's been you kind of lose track of what some counties are doing at this point of the year, so they'll be back. They could be one of two teams to perhaps beat Dublin in the next 20 years.
Meath
or Kildare will beat Dublin in the next 20 years, will they?
No.
20? Not in the next 20 years, no?
What? On the basis of the last 20 years?
Well, they've beaten them in the last 20 years.
Yeah, barely. And at the start of that. Anyway, let's move on from all the ridiculousness. Another total mosh. So this is the most honest interviewee award.
Yes, and we go back to County Roscommon for this one, and we're giving this award to Kevin McStay, who spoke to us after they were beaten by Donegal in the Super 8s. To be devil's advocate, the linesman may say he didn't see it, or that wasn't brought to his attention on time, and he might also say, well, perhaps Kevin McStay shouldn't have gotten into my space. It looked like you did lay your hands on him, which we all know is against the rules.
Yeah, well, if he didn't see it, he was the only one in the stadium that didn't see it. It was a completely obvious call. Kieran Brannigan, I imagine, didn't see it because he was the wrong side of it, but the linesman was facing it. But yeah, I've come across a lot of this officiating, you know, over the last 2 years, and some of these linesmen are incredibly precious, and they like to play the hard man when they're on it. It's not very pleasant when you're trying to manage a team. All you're looking for is a bit of civility and a bit of decency, but they just dismiss you like you have nothing to do with the bloody occasion. I put a lot of time into it. I've been agitated more than I should have been. Like, we're all trying to get the win, and a little bit of courtesy from officials. Most of them find it very easy to be courteous and help out any way they can within the rules of it, and some of them then go off on I don't know what's the term I'm looking for, but yeah, less than generous with their time, let me put it that way.
We could say that possibly happened in the white heat of battle, though looking back on it now, would you say you regret your actions, or do you think what you did was the right thing for you and your team?
I apologised. I apologised at half time to the referee. Apparently the ball struck him in the back of the head. That was absolutely an accident. I was throwing the ball back to where I thought the free would be, and then I realised someone said, he's called half time, which, I was annoyed, so I came in immediately to apologise. I'd never do that purposely, and by that stage he had said that I'd been aggressive to him, and he was complaining to the referee about it, and I suppose the referee had no option then but to take some action. So it's the one thing this association just can't seem to get right, is officiating, and good officiating where the officials are all tuned in to what's going on around the place. Like, there's an awful lot going on in a football field these days that isn't even been refed at all. It's just let to the players to sort out.
Yeah, it was funny. Obviously, I was at that game, and I remember watching it as it happened and thinking, this is the most un-Kevin McStay like Kevin McStay event I've ever seen in my life.
That's a fair point.
And the fact that when I actually did that interview with him, it's a pity we didn't have a video of it. He seemed emotionally and physically drained. He looked like a man who was just exhausted, who'd done 3 days work without a break type person. He was just so drained by the event, and I don't know what happened to him. It's like that flash of, just said there, white heat. He just lost all control. It was, but the funny thing is, when you talk to him, he's nearly kind of, sure, it's done now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mad, the whole refereeing. So the Andy McEntee story ultimately is a story of somebody going crazy at a referee on the pitch, and he's emotional about the defeat, but I think he's also emotional about the fact that he lost it in front of everybody and in front of his players as well. And he obviously got a lot of criticism for that, and McStay, rightly gets criticism for the end of that, and he gets a suspension for it too. But they're also part of the solution to this, is them having more respect for the mistakes that are made by the linesman and the referee, and fostering that culture where the referees and linesmen feel that it's okay for them to have a relationship with the players. It's, he says they act like hard men. That's very interesting that you kind of, that conversation starts to happen, and you put that with the interview that Eamon Fitzmaurice, where he was talking about, that there's a linesman looking at the referee going, sure, if he makes a mistake there, I might be in next week. I'd never...
That's mad, isn't it? Yeah, that's actually...
So they're not teams.
Case.
They're not teams. They're individuals, like little islands within the whole system, trying to boost their own careers. There's a madness. There's a strain of madness going through the whole... how the rule book is interpreted, what's in the rule book, the bits that we're all happy for people to ignore that are in the rule book, and then the other bits that are like, that's a free. It's like... It's a very difficult game to referee.
Hugely difficult. I'd have lots of sympathies for referees. I'd never do it. But at the same time, I think the time has come now for a proper review to be done on this, because there's too many careers. Like, think for Andy McAtee went out far too early for his liking over a refereeing decision. Kevin McStay is gone. Possibly, for all we know, emotionally exhausted by the whole thing.
Derek McGrath's gone.
Derek McGrath, yeah. Another one.
I think that their injuries probably weren't going to clear up in time, but who knows? Maybe, they win that game, they go on a run.
They didn't have any incentive in their last game. It was against Cork, wasn't it, their last game of the round robin in Munster. So if they had an incentive in that game, they lost by only a few points in the end. They might have actually won that game, and obviously the incentive might have come after getting that correct call, if it had been a correct call against Tip. So it's like the two referees at the start, as Fitzmaurice said. That's probably the first step that's necessary, because it's a really tough game to referee, let's not forget, unless there is more stringent rules put in place and there's more definitions put on the rules, but that's kind of hard as well.
I would say it's even simpler than that. Just get the umpires and the linesmen to actually do their job.
Wire them all into the same headpiece and go, what happened there? What are you seeing there? Tell us what's going on.
Too often we've seen the umpire saying, I didn't see it, or the linesmen, and it's there.
And broadcast that. Let everybody hear it, and let everybody hear the abuse that they're taking from the players.
Yeah.
3 weeks in, the players will stop abusing them, because it's like, I'm embarrassed by what I said on TV last night. All that stuff's pretty easy to sort out. So little ears, if there are any, stick your fingers in them, please. Clusterfuck of the summer. There are many opportunities here. I am annoyed that Newbridge of Nowhere is not on this.
Newbridge of Nowhere worked out perfectly, didn't it? For you and your people.
Well, for justice, and
So I would suggest that Clusterfuck needs to end
for the GAA. People forget that we were actually, Kildare were on the side of the little guy in this.
Kildare were literally the little guy, and they won.
Yeah, but before the correct decision was made, it looked like it was definitely going to be the clusterfuck of the summer.
But it wasn't.
I would argue, we'll never know, because we don't know, had the decision not gone the other way, would they actually have gone to the field? Because don't forget, that was the threat.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, we don't know. So that was why...
Mayo would have been the All-Ireland final, and who knows what would have happened.
Well, the problem with poor Mayo is, God knows, if they had to go and kick that ball over the bar, who's to say it had gone over?
Oh, zing.
I'm just saying, they just have that unlucky streak and the hard luck story. You just know that possibly would have been the photo we'd all be talking about.
Yeah, what would have happened then? It would have been a replay in where? Newbridge?
Gaelic Grounds.
Yeah.
So what wins this?
Well, I decided that since, because Kildare actually did get to play and went on and won the game that night, I decided to go for a team that looks to be more or less destroyed by clusterfuck, so to speak, and I've gone for the Mayo ladies football team. It is just, what has gone on up there is so wrong, and then the tangents about Carnacon and everything else, it is just not right. At the end of the day, women trained to try and play football, they should have the support of their county board. They should not be thrown out of a championship because they withdraw themselves from the county team. Last I checked, it was a voluntary organisation. You volunteer to play, you volunteer your time. That means you don't have to do it. And for them to be thrown out of the championship, just wrong.
Yeah.
And I know the appeal and everything went on, but...
There's layers to this story that obviously are going to eventually, you would hope, emerge. And who knows what happens at the end of that.
Absolutely. And when questions about welfare are being brought up, that has to be explored, and investigation has to be done. But at the end of the day, this is a team with great potential that went nowhere near it this year. They were an All-Ireland final last year. What has happened is actually, it's more than sad, it's nearly treacherous to football in their county. I'm
pretty sure that when the Cork hurlers went on strike, that processes were put in place to mediate between teams and county boards into the future. Like there's an off-the-shelf solution ready for somebody to come along and say, yeah, you need an independent mediator to sit there, listen to both sides of the story, and then make a public pronouncement, and everybody has to be willing to go with that, and we'll be locked into that. And then for the good of the sport, we'll all move on. Because ultimately, you suspect most people just want to play games.
Absolutely. You would think so, but for the good of the sport, and I feel that has been forgotten about here, and far be it for me to bring my Galway biases toward this, but I think it's a perfect example again of some Mayo bitterness going on.
Oh, zing, zing, zing. Twice in a minute. Most enjoyable, there will be blood rivalry.
Literally, in this case, after Paddy Murray getting a gash over his eye at full time yesterday, I went
From a photographer,
yes. Cork and Kilkenny in the Camogie. Is there a better rivalry in Irish sport at the moment? I can't think of one if there is.
Well, there's not one that's so openly naked about the hatred they have for each other.
Absolutely. And isn't it great?
The photographer was an agent for Kilkenny, let's face it. It was just like, and Danny was like, if we lose this game, you get on that photographer's bib. You take that camera. I know, yeah.
Yeah, he came, it was like all kind of, I should know the correct terminology after my 1 week of medical school, but loads of goo over his eye.
I think there's like a photo immediately after the impact where he's kind of like this, and there's a photo of him, which meant that the photographer walloped into him and was like, I got to get a picture of this, and succeeded in doing so. So well done to that photographer.
Well, maybe that photographer was really angry about how the game ended and felt that Cork robbed that away from Kilkenny with that really, really, really questionable free on the 60th minute.
It's mad, isn't it? That, like, at the last minute you'll make this kind of, oh, I made a mistake, I didn't mean to blow it, I'm going to throw it in. Is that what you do, like, to get yourself out of it?
I don't know, but I remember actually it so happened that Joe came to me just a few minutes after that, or not even a few minutes, and I saw it happening in real time. But you know, when you're watching a game, you don't know, you don't have the action replay, and you don't know. To me, it looked like nothing. The press box all jumped up. Everyone said that's not a free. Obviously, I didn't want to be that person saying it certainly wasn't when I made a show of later that night on the Sunday game. So I said it looked like it wasn't, and Downey was incensed.
Yeah,
and it just
she was still angry afterwards.
Very much so. Yeah.
Like, look, it's good for the rivalry. It's bad for Kilkenny for this year, but they won't have any difficulty, you would expect, getting numbers of training. Soundbite of the summer?
Soundbite of the summer goes to Turlough O'Brien in Carlow, who I'm sure under no circumstances pre-prepared this statement that he made.
If you looked at the match and you saw, 10 Tyrone men behind the ball, as often as you saw them in the Carlow half, you can see how difficult it is to play, direct football. A lot of people seem to think that Carlow are playing a terrible style of football, but, some of these critics, these pundits, these ex-players, and, let's be honest about it, Joe Brawley's had a right pop of the car for the last few weeks, but there's a lot of holes in Brawley's arguments, and a Brawley with holes in it isn't much use.
What kind of holes?
He's talking about, Carlow being a defensive team, but look at the scores we got over the National Football League. We're one of the top scoring teams in the National Football League, one of the top goal scoring teams in the National Football League. So I think those facts stand up against any argument about how we play the game.
Possibly, except today, I think, was it 2-3 points from play, and so, the rest came from frees?
Yeah, look at why did we get frees? Lads are foul gone in, so they're scoring opportunities anyway. So you can take that wherever you like, but we're happy, we're very proud of our lads.
Absolutely, and it is, at the end of the day, people might complain, but defensive football where you're winning, or at least keeping up with teams, is probably better than pretty football where you're being beaten off the pitch.
We were very, very competitive. I don't know what you people are thinking, but you know the rules of the game. We play within the rules of the game, so we know. And we play football to win. We're not here to entertain Joe Brawley or the likes of Joe Brawley. If he wants to come down here, Joe Brawley was forwards coach, by the way, with Antrim in 2008. They were in contention for promotion. 7 points against Waterford, 8 points against Tipperary to lose promotion from Division 4 under Joe Brawley's brilliant tutelage. So there you go now.
And you're being promoted under your tutelage, so you must be doing something right here in Carlow.
That one. And in 2008, Carlow had Waterford, the Tommy Murphy Cup, 8-10 to 7 points were beaten. We're here today playing a top team. We're both in Division 3 and we're very proud.
There you go, Turlough. The Brawley with holes in it, he was like, well, mic drop, and then you're like, no, hang on, I've got another question. It's like, oh shit.
But he had to actually back that up.
Yeah. What do you mean? But I just said my line. This is supposed to be.
This is where you're supposed to applaud.
Yeah.
Standing ovation, and let me.
Supposed to drop the mic at that point.
No, that was good. Except Brawley went on Twitter to deny that he was ever the forwards coach officially. That he did a bit of. So just for the sake of balance, there,
And as a journalist, I should have gone and investigated that, but I was far too lazy.
And now, in fairness, he had obviously done all the work, thinking, I've got some good sources here to tell him what the crack was. And then the last one here is most underrated juggernaut.
Yes, and I have preemptively given this to Dublin. I hope I'm not giving them the commentators' hex. The Dublin ladies football team, they've been knocking on the door for years. They got to the top table last year. They won the All-Ireland. Obviously they're up against Cork, but just based on the standard of the ladies football that I've seen this summer, if Dublin played the way they can and the way I've seen them play, they should beat Cork on Sunday. They are a powerful machine. They have it all. They have strength, they have scoring, they have accuracy, they have speed, they have great mental agility. They are just a force to be reckoned with, and they're really inspirational. They work wonderfully as a unit together, and the way they're coached from top down, bottom up, is sublime.
When do we split them in two? When does that conversation start?
When they win their 3 in a row.
So next year?
Possibly.
So we can postpone it for a year. Maire Treasa, great stuff. Anything else from the summer of 2018 that's going to live with you forever?
Lots. I wouldn't even know where to start. These are just some of the highlights, but I think one thing I should point out as well, possibly an award we should have, was the nicest team to deal with and just nice lads, and that would have to go to the Clare Hurlers. They're lovely people.
I thought you were going to say OTB AM there for a minute. I thought it was like nicest team within off the ball, but anyway, next time.
Good stuff. Maire Treasa, the 2018 MTs, we'll put them up on social. If you want to get involved, then you can give us your abuse at Off The Ball on Twitter or at Off The Ball AM. In fact, if you want to just do it for the show. Thanks.